when would you say everything changed and you saw the uniparty?
Again, the 1960s. Okay, so the 1960s is when we say that when we saw the bureaucrats and the establishment take over. Okay, and then we had this fourth branch of government, which are the regulators. Okay, we have by best estimate on Google, you cannot find how many laws we have in the United States, right? I mean, it is really hard to like Google that, and it'll be like, well, right, because it's unknowable. It's unknowable because we have millions of laws if you count regulations. So we have all these things that are not really laws, but they can still shut your business down. They can still destroy you. Our founding fathers had this concept that you as a citizen need to know the law. Okay? It's unknowable now. That's why we have a situation like we just had with Trump. I'm sure you're familiar, or maybe you aren't.
We're going to cover that later.
With the idea of show me the man and I'll show you the crime. That is only really possible today because every day you're committing a felony or a misdemeanor just walking around in life. And if they want to go after you,
upon
they
those
can.
policies.
On anything. I mean, like just walking around in life. We could find, like if we wanted to go after you,
that's 100%.
We could put you in jail.
Yeah.
And that's not how this should be.
So 1960s, JFK got killed.
Yeah.
Then Lyndon Johnson. So he's a deep
He
state.
got killed because he did not want to be involved in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
He got killed by the war military industrial complex and the intelligence services. He was going to disband the CIA. He was going to cast it to the winds, according to his quote. He saw that it was improperly involved here domestically. It had gotten mission creep. It had gotten off of its original charter, right? Then you have the FBI, which the FBI was created by executive order, and it became a domestic spy agency against us here as well, which, by the way, good news, if Trump wanted to disband it, which I think that he should, and put the same functions into like the U.S. Marshal Service, he could, by executive order, disband it. It doesn't have to be congressional.
Yeah, so JFK didn't want to go to Vietnam because he had a track record of what happened in Korea, right?
Yeah, and he saw, that it was not a healthy and proper war, and it was, I mean, we were losing. We were going to lose. It was not a good thing for our government, and we don't need to be doing those kinds of actions all over the earth.
But the reason number one is why U.S. got involved in Korea is because of the communists, right?
Yeah.
U.S. was afraid that communists going to take over the Asia.
Yeah.
You got already China's revolution,
right.
The communists, USSR, and in Korea, then Vietnam because of communists as well.
Yes.
Then you've got Burma, Myanmar, all those countries.
Yeah.
So you were afraid that it's going to take over the Asia, and then potentially it can take over the world.
Well, it can't. It can for a time. So I'm a non-interventionist. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a mostly non-interventionist because there are times when we are called as men to go and fight on someone's behalf, and a sovereign nation from time to time is called by God or called by the circumstances, whatever you want to call it, that we have to go and we have to do some hard things, right? World War II, things like that. There were times in which, we had to step in, let's say, right? Great, egregious things happening around the world. But what we did was we used it to enrich us. We used it to enrich, and by us, I mean like our war machine. By us, I mean people who wanted to get wealthy on the backs of other countries and use it as money laundering and all that sort of stuff, right? But if we built ourselves to continue to be very strong and doubling down on our sovereignty, right? We have so many resources. This is the most resource-rich continent in the world, right? We could do so much here.
Maybe Russia is more resource-based.
It's missing some things like agriculture and stuff like that are concentrated, like maybe in the Ukraine and things like that. But we, because it's further north in the way, like there's some things that are missing there. That's not. I'm going to stop there because that's not my area of expertise.
Some kind of metals.
Yeah. But we had and have everything that we need here to be a very strong sovereign nation, and us and our close trading partners on the continent, right? And so communism unwinds. The communists always starve. Okay? Over time, let God's judgment happen upon them for going down these unprincipled, idiotic paths. For us to have been so deeply invested in the idea that we were going to be the world police and we were going to ensure our safety by preventing that, the USSR fell because of bad principles. That's why I think we don't need to be as heavy of we should not invest as heavy as we have been in fighting wars and policing the world.
So you say the deep state was created some kind of in 1960s. JFK, Vietnam War, then Nixon. That was a precedent as well.
Nixon was taken out.
Yes.
By the deep state. The Woodward and Bernstein. Those guys were deep state guys. The fact that they, I forget, was Bernstein, was it Woodward? I forget which one, but he was a FBI deep stater. And all of a sudden he shifts to be a Pulitzer Prize winning writer. Getting journalistic awards. All of the guys that were connected to that whole entire thing were all involved in the intelligence services. They took him out. He was the most popular president in the history of this country at that time. Nixon was.
But then 1980s, for 2 terms, there was Reagan.
Yeah.
That's a deep state as well.
I'm not a big Reagan fan. People are like, oh, Reagan, he's your hero, sort of stuff of the conservatives. Reagan grew our government tremendously. Mm-hmm. Reagan put in no-fault divorce, which caused us to disintegrate in our families. Reagan did amnesty for illegal aliens. There's all these sort of things. Reagan was not the hero. Now, he created some economic conditions that were successful, right? He did some things that were much better than Jimmy Carter, who was a complete, whiffling loser.
And he looked like one.
Yeah, he did. But Reagan, again, strayed from actual real conservative principles, and he's still lauded and protected by conservatives as this, the greatest, one of the greatest presidents we ever had. Well, look, we had a boom during his time, but we also sowed the seeds for destruction economically down the road. We created some of the Wall Street things that happened that ended up being our downfall in 2008. We set up the stage for socializing losses and privatizing the gains that you saw in 2008, where Wall Street just fleeced us all. They all got bailed out, too big to fail. All those sort of things. Reagan sowed the seeds to a lot of that.
Okay, so then Bush, then Clinton, all the wars. Then Bush for 2 terms, Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah, I along with a lot of people during the time, I was young in the Iraq, war, and during that time, I was just getting high school, watching all that stuff happen, Desert Storm, all of that, thinking that, yes, this is what we've got to do, and, I'm a patriot, right on, we're on the side of good. But you look into the details of that, some of these things were huge mistake. Many of them were deep state actions, coups that should never have happened, that were organized by our deep state. It's unsettling to see how much we were lied to.
But at the same at that time, the U.S. was aligned with, let's say, UK, Tony Blair.
Yeah. So
it's not just the U.S. It's just not just about the uniparty in the United States. There's just, like you said, the globalists.
Yeah. No, we have been being controlled at a level that it's the reason that Donald Trump got the traction he did. Donald Trump revealed a lot of this stuff in the way he talked about the game being rigged against us, right? He came out and said, I know the game is rigged. How do I know the game is rigged? Because I've been a part of it. Mm-hmm. And yes, everything that you thought and felt and he's talking to the middle class, right? I went to the UFC in December, UFC 296. I had floor seats. I was there with former Congressman Madison Cawthorn, who's a good buddy of mine. He's the congressman in a wheelchair, youngest congressman, I think second youngest in history, but youngest in modern age. And true freedom-loving patriot, love him to death.
AKA bigot, misogynist, sexist, racist.
They went after him because he revealed that there's on John Lovell, Warrior Poet Society. John Lovell, who's another good friend, went on his show and said that, hey man, they got orgies going on in our political parties in Congress, and I mean these people are all filthy. They're all doing all these depraved
last year.
Yeah, they're doing all these depraved sex acts. Yeah, and then of course, by the way, when that footage came out, of the Senate chambers, some dude schlepping another dude in there.
But why would you film it?
Everybody started saying Madison Cawthorn was right, but they moved against him. John McCarthy, who's dirty, they moved against Madison Cawthorn, primaried him and threw him out, gave him a little talking to, like, how dare you reveal our secrets? That's what it was, but they've got dirt on so many of these people. I mean, I know personally things that there's certain people I'm not going to throw under the bus right now publicly that I know are completely compromised, that go along with things because they've been compromised behind the scenes like that. I mean, it is dirty.
Can you explain me? You're having sex at your workspace. Why do you film it?
Dude, this is Roman times, man. I mean,
just have sex.
Yeah, no, because that for the depraved, that is the thrill. The thrill is not just the act. The thrill is all of the depravity and recording it. That's why, by the way, that's why they write down the evil things that they are going to do to us. That's why that's why none of these things. Remember, Alex Jones was interviewed, I think, on Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson was like, you're like a prophet. He goes, no, I just read what they write.
Yeah.
It's that same spirit. We want to record it. We want to show it. We want to do this all in your faces, and that's part of the thrill.
Then why are they upset when the tape comes out that you're having sex?
Yeah. Depravity.
Okay, Bush, 2008.